Tellico Village Broadcasting presents Tellico Village Naturally. Join us as we explore the interesting wildlife and nature's beauty that surround us here in Tellico Village. Now, here's your host, Keith Sanderson.
Tellico Village Naturally is visiting the American Eagle Foundation, which is a 501c3 charitable organization. It was founded in 1987 by Al Ciceri. The mission of the American Eagle Foundation is to rescue and rehabilitate bald eagles and other raptors. It also raises and reintroduces bald eagles into the wild.
We're here at the American Eagle Foundation headquarters in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And Al, can you tell us about the headquarters, a little bit about what goes on here?
Sure. We have two parts to our facility. One part is on the Dollywood Park. We have a Birds of Prey show theater there where we perform regular Birds of Prey shows from April through the end of October. We also have the world's largest eagle exhibit where we can show the public, a whole arrangement of eagles with different disabilities where they can learn to appreciate their beauty and be inspired by them. We also have a few breeding pairs on the park that often hatch young and that are released into the wild. The off-park facility is where our offices are, and we also have a flight cage where we exercise eagles that are going to be put back into the wild after they've been rehabbed. We have a breeding aviary where we have about 4 pairs of eagles that are non-releasable, permanently non-releasable, and they hatch young every year. We release those into the wild. And then a lot of our educational birds are trained and housed here in a large building that's called our bird barn.
About how many birds are housed here, Al?
Well, on both the Dollywood Park and the off-park facility, we probably range between 70 and 80 birds. It goes up and down depending on how many birds we place. And but those are permanent residents. And then we also rehabilitate many more birds of prey and eagles that are placed back into the wild, hopefully. Some don't have serious disabilities where they can't be put back, and we place those with other facilities.
And how many species of raptors, eagles, and other birds of prey that are here do you think people in Tellico Village might see in or around the village?
Oh, sure. We've got hawks, owls, falcons, bald eagles. We have golden eagles. Although golden eagles I don't think would be found nesting in the Tellico area. They might pass through there. But with the owls, we have screech owls, barn owls, barred owls, great horned owls. Those all could be in the Tellico area. And peregrine falcons, I don't know how many of them live in that area, but I'm sure that ospreys do, obviously, because of the water. And bald eagles are probably nesting in that area, I would think, with the water that you have there. So.
Wow, quite a few. So now,
and then of course you got turkey vultures and black vultures, which are pretty common just about everywhere.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that. One of our viewers wrote in a question, and there's a black vulture rookery or roost near Kahiti neighborhood, and she was wondering, are they considered raptors?
Yeah, they're still a raptor. Yeah, they eat dead animals on the road. They don't kill animals with their talons like hawks and owls and eagles do, because they don't have the same type of power, and they can't grasp things like other birds of prey can. But they do eat the carrion on the road. So.
And are they also protected as raptors are by the...
All birds that are so-called non-game are protected.
Okay,
yeah. So if it's a game animal, obviously it's protected during certain seasons, and then you can hunt them, but non-game animals are protected year-round.
And that means you can't disturb their nests or things like that?
Well, the disturbing of nests has more to do with bald and golden eagles, because they're protected by the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act and the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. So that's a little bit more serious. Technically, you're not supposed to disturb a nest, but people, go around red-tailed hawk nests and vulture nests all the time, I'm sure. They're probably not going to be thrown in jail for it, as long as they don't disturb it,
Yeah, that's the key. And another question we had is, What if I'm hiking in the woods and I see a raptor nest, a bald eagle nest, or another one, and it has been disturbed, and I see a young one on the ground? What should I do?
Well, I mean, first thing you should do is call your state wildlife agency, the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, and then you can also call an organization like ours, the American Eagle Foundation, and we can together try to rescue that bird, you know, if it's in danger.
Okay, and that would be the same then if I saw an injured adult on the ground.
Sure, exactly the same.
Same thing,
Yeah.
and I shouldn't really get close to it because it'd stress the bird and I might get injured.
Yeah, you don't want to handle a bird that you're not used to handling. I mean, eagles are very powerful, and if they grab you with their talons, they're going to do serious damage to you, and they can bite you pretty hard, and they can tear flesh apart. So you know, you got to just be very careful. You should call someone who has experience in doing that. If it's a smaller bird like a screech owl or you know, a barn owl, we could probably give instructions on how to put it in a cardboard box, you know, keep it dark inside, and bring it to us or to the University of Tennessee vet school in Knoxville.
Is that where you care for your birds?
We care for a lot of our birds right here at the Eagle Center in Pigeon Forge, but a lot of our medical treatment work is done by the vets at UT.
Okay. And what's your relationship with Dollywood?
Dollywood has been a corporate sponsor of ours for the past 27 years, and they're not involved in our operations or our management. We're in an independent nonprofit, but we have a relationship agreement where we provide the bird show and the eagle exhibit on the Dollywood Park.
And if anyone hasn't seen the bird show, I really suggest they get up there and see it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a good show, and we got some good selection of birds that you'd find in this area, including Tellico. Yeah.
Okay. And Shauna from Tellico Village wrote in and asked if raptors fish or swim.
Well, bald eagles fish for fish, and so but they don't. Occasionally, if the fish is too heavy, they try to swim to shore with it in their talons.
Really?
Yeah, they'll flap their wings and just kind of gradually swim to a shore, you know. Now, ospreys, they fish in a different way. They actually dive into the water and get their fish, and then they come out of the water and take it away, where the bald eagle just skims off the surface and catches the fish off the surface. They don't dive into the water itself.
I've watched ospreys dive and actually glide. It amazes me. It seems they really hit the water with impact. Yeah. How can their, bird bones, I understand, aren't that heavy like mammals? How can they stand that?
Well, they do it in a streamlined way that they're designed to do it. You know, I mean, they're experts at it. They can just go dive right in, grab their fish underwater, and come out with it.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. We have some video of a bald eagle on Lake Tellico that was taken by one of our residents of trying to catch a grebe, and it was sort of like whack-a-ball. I mean, he would try to catch him, the duck would dive and bob up maybe 20, 30 feet away, and he'd try again. And I was wondering, is this common, and what would you say about something like this?
Well, the first thing I would say is it sounds like the eagle made a grievous mistake of trying to chase that clever grebe. But eagles eat ducks and coots and grebes and different things, and it's not always easy to catch every prey that you go after, you know, and sometimes you have to work a little harder at it. So, and eagles don't always succeed.
Another question we've gotten is some of our residents are concerned about how afraid they should be as far as raptors trying to catch one of their pets.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if you have a smaller pet or a smaller cat or dog, you know, a hungry eagle or red-tailed hawk could come and, you know, kill it and eat it. So they should be cautious about that if they know that they've got hawks and eagles close by in their area, wherever they live. So, I mean, the raptors just look at it like another animal. They don't know it's a pet. You know, they just think it's something to eat. And if they're hungry, they're going to go get it.
Yeah, that's right. It's a meal. Along the same line, other neighbors, someone wrote in and said she feeds birds a lot, songbirds, and she's disturbed because some kind of hawk is trying to catch the birds.
Yeah.
I would say that's part of nature. What would you say? Should she do anything
Yeah.
about it?
Well,
Or
of course it's part of nature. There's no real way you can control it. I mean, you know, peregrine falcons are known to kill birds and eat them, and so are Cooper's hawks. So, you know, that's what those birds do. That's the way God made them, and that's what their function is. So, can't really do anything about that.
that's right. There's not good and bad in nature. I
Right.
guess it's bad if you're going to be eaten, and it's good if you eat it.
That's right. I mean, it's a delicate balance in nature. You know, it's an ecosystem, and everything that God created has a purpose, and part of the purpose is to control populations, and so it's going to happen. You know.
Now, you founded the American Eagle Foundation, and I understand your background isn't in biology or zoology or something that one would expect someone like you to have. What was your background?
Well, first off, as a child, I was an animal lover, and I brought home every kind of animal that I could get my hands on and build a cage or an enclosure for it and raise them. You know, everything from ducks and pigeons, rabbits, raccoons. You know, I was just totally in love with animals. And I wanted to be a vet all my life, a veterinarian. And after I got out of the military, I decided to go to film school because I had the GI Bill. And I went to a film school out in LA, and I learned about making motion pictures. And I worked on a couple films out there, freelance, and a number of freelance films in Nashville after I moved to Nashville. While I was working on entertainment productions in Nashville, one day I picked up a Tennessean newspaper, and I saw a photograph on the cover of the paper that depicted 24 eagles that had been shot by poachers in the Dakotas. And it was a very stark photograph of these 24 eagles laying side by side. And as a person who loved animals, I stepped back and couldn't believe people were doing that, and I had to call the TWRA, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, for the very first time in my life to ask them questions about why that was. And I dialed the number, and when I got the operator, I said, I need to speak to the guy in Tennessee that knows the most about bald eagles. And they put me on the phone with a gentleman named Bob Hatcher, who later became my mentor, and he was the guy that headed up the Endangered Species Program for the state of Tennessee for many years before he passed. He, in that conversation, told me that eagles were not only an endangered species, but that there was very little funding on a federal and state level to keep eagle recovery programs going. And he was being very resourceful trying to get eagles from Alaska and release them in Tennessee to help repopulate, because we only had one nest at that time in the whole state. It was up near Reelfoot Lake. And of course we have many, many more nests now, but we've released close to 400 eaglets in Tennessee over those years at different lakes. And of course our hack tower that we have on Douglas Lake, we've released close to 150 eaglets.
Wow.
And so it's all in an effort to repopulate. And so the state has released probably about 400 eaglets altogether to help repopulate in this state. And we've got a number of nests that are coming back everywhere, you know, and we've got couple in Sevierville even here, so which is a wonderful thing.
That's fantastic.
Another thing that happened in my life around 1983 or 1984, I forget which it was, George Bush Sr., who was president for that 4-year period, gave his State of the Union address, and he was talking for the very first time about being a point of light, you know, and he was basically trying to say that people need to get involved with their charities and other methods and do things to help America out. You know, it doesn't have to be the government that does everything. And when I heard that whole concept of point of light, I knew right then and there that's what I wanted to be. So that kind of gave me encouragement to do, you know, pursue a career in saving eagles. And of course, when I first started, we inherited about 35 birds from a center in Mount Juliet, where the director walked away for another job, and I hired a gentleman named John Stokes from the Memphis Zoo to come in and take care of the birds. But we had very little money. We'd stand on corners at Walmart and ask for change all through the winter. We'd go to different Walmarts around Nashville, and just so that we could pay John and get some food for the birds to take care of them. And of course, things grew and grew as we just kept, you know, pursuing it. And And of course, the American Eagle Foundation is what it is today.
Your story is really, I think, inspirational. I can relate to you because when I was a kid, I loved it. I'd be out in the woods when my friends were going to dances and stuff. And you show how, with a real passion for something, in this case animals, that you don't need that maybe formal education. What you need perhaps is the drive and the understanding of what needs to be done.
Right.
And I think that would be very inspirational to a message to any of our audience out there.
Sure.
If you want to get involved, do it.
This is Challenger, and Challenger's a 27-year-old male bald eagle blown from a nest as a baby in a storm in Louisiana, hand-raised by the people who rescued him. He became human imprinted during the process of his initial rearing by people who didn't know how to raise an eagle to keep it wild. And he was released into the wild twice. He landed near people 3 times and was always begging for food. The 3rd time, a man picked up a stick and was going to beat Challenger, and another man saw what he was doing and stopped him. And he's been with the American Eagle Foundation for all these years now as an educational ambassador for his species. He could live up to 50 years or more in captivity. Eagles in the wild live to be 40 or less. He's traveled all over the United States, performed at every major event that you can conceive of, and he's been a great ambassador for his species in the wild. He's known around the world. Our mission basically is to restore and protect eagles and birds of prey. We educate the public about protecting eagles and birds of prey. We rehabilitate injured or orphaned birds of prey and try to put them back into the wild. We also breed disabled parent eagles and release their young into the wild to help repopulate them in East Tennessee.
We're now in the bird barn with Laura Sturbins, the Director of Operations for the American Eagle Foundation. Laura, can you tell us a little bit about this?
This is our bird housing facility for about 40 of our resident birds, all non-releasable, either physically, mentally, in some fashion. And this is where our daily operations take place. So every day our birds are cared for. They're fed, the rooms are clean, they're given enrichment, they're allowed to get exercise, and then we keep a record of everything here at our weathering station. Each bird has an individual chart. We keep those records really in detail so we can make sure our birds are healthy and they are maintained really well. So.
Do you have opportunities for volunteers here?
We do. We have volunteers that help us care for our birds and do some other things for the foundation. They go through a training process, before they can get to certain levels of actually holding birds. But they come in and do the grunt work, clean cages and things like that. And if they hang around long enough, we teach them some other things, But we have people in the office even that help us out with administrative stuff as well.
Great. If somebody's interested in either volunteering, getting more information, or perhaps making a donation, what's your website address?
Well, our website is www.eagles.org, and you can donate online, and you can contact us online, or if you want to call us, our phone number is 865-429-0157.
That's great. We thank you so much, Al, for taking the time.
Thanks for coming down.
And it's really a fantastic job you're doing.